On a calm, sunny afternoon, you're walking around in your home, and suddenly you feel a vicious jolt rush throughout your body. You feel an initial lift, as if you were jumping up against your will. But when it's all over, there is a strange sense of weightlessness in your body. Your heart suddenly drops when you don't feel your legs firmly planted on the ground. As you hastily look down to gather yourself, you notice you are suspended in midair, as if frozen in time, able to move your limbs but helplessly dangling in place. Now, this is the plot to a 2014 short film, The Kármán Line, written by Oscar Sharp and Don King, and directed by Oscar Sharp, and tells the story of Sarah, a woman battling a strange health condition that slowly levitates her off the ground against her will. Sarah, played by Olivia Colman, is seen in the opening of the film peacefully in her home when the condition first strikes. The health condition immediately begins to shake up Sarah's home life as her and her family discover she is stuck in place despite their best efforts to try and move her. And in just a few scenes, the film shows how quickly a family's life can be dramatically changed in a single moment. You see it begin to put a tremendous strain on her family because of the condition's debilitating characteristic. Her husband and daughter are called to action to care for their loved one as their new lifestyle must center around accommodating Sarah's needs. And just when matters couldn't get any worse, Sarah receives the worst news possible. Now, I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge the film's excellent way of hooking the viewer in with great performances by everyone involved and the creativeness of Sarah's predicament. This fictitious disease is an allegory to terminal illness and a clever plot device which helps illustrate one of the film's powerful central themes that touches on mortality, courage, and surprisingly God, which will be expanded upon later. Now, after some time adapting to this new life, Sarah and her family are visited by a medical consultant. At this point, Sarah's condition has progressed significantly and now suspends her to the ceiling. Then, the consultant delivers the hope-shattering news, like a doctor giving an end-of-life meeting, another allegory to terminal illness. She tells them that Sarah's condition is not only uncurable, but it will eventually send her 12,000 feet up in the air in about 3 months' time, and will continue to progress indefinitely. This is where you begin to see the film's clever visual metaphor for terminal illness take shape. All the coping mechanisms, emotional distance created, awkward lifestyle adjustments, and intense grief associated with it is excellently visually portrayed using Sarah's gradual ascent, which takes us to the core symbolism of this film. Sarah, like someone on their deathbed, is physically and emotionally drifting away from her family. The closer to her death, the further from the world she becomes, and further from those who love her most. What happens when we die? Where do we go? What does it feel like? What does it feel like to be so close to death? To stare death directly in its eyes as we taste every ounce of our final breath? Will it be bitter or will it be sweet? As the film reaches its climax, we find Sarah suspended hundreds of feet in the sky and impossibly far from any physical human contact. The pain from being so distant from her family begins to set in, and after a phone call with her daughter goes awry, she tries to soothe the pain with some music. But in a fateful moment, her music player slips from her grasp, hurtling to the ground. She has dropped one of the very few saving graces she had left to steady her mind up there. But soon after, like an event of divine fate, a flock of birds emerges in the distance and begins to encircle Sarah. Just when she was experiencing a vulnerable fit of rage, her spirits are immediately uplifted by this moment as she cheers at the beauty and excitement of it all. It is a powerful scene in the film. It's as if Mother Nature, a divine force, or God, embraces Sarah at her most vulnerable, as if to say, look up at the beauty of the world that surrounds you and allow it. Allow me to embrace you. Let me show you the gloriousness of it all. Then, following a stormy night, we see Sarah significantly higher up in the cold morning atmosphere, so much so that she is using an oxygen mask to sustain herself. This is when Sarah makes a pivotal decision for her life. As she gazes into the beauty of the rising sun, she gives her parting words to her husband and daughter over the phone. She rids of her oxygen backpack like a person on their deathbed, pulling their own plug or refusing to eat. As she lets go of all the weight on her back, it allows her condition to resume at an unrestricted pace. She begins to propel upward at high speeds towards the sky, smiling towards her death, towards heaven. Sarah was ready to let go of life, including everything she loved that connected her to it, and chose to face the inevitable. In her final moments, she is shown to be at peace with her death, This radical acceptance of her death was a divine act of courage that set her free to move on and embrace her fate with an open heart, leading to her existential salvation. But it's a big ask to tell a human to accept their death, especially during their most intimate moment with it. It's a big ask from God, and it's a big promise to make. The promise that if you accept your death at your most vulnerable and existentially challenging moment in your mortal journey, as you stand at the tallest precipice of life and peer down into an abyss so deep your eyes can feel its distance, to stare into that unknown and jump, that you are embraced with a warmth and clarity that brings a peace to your mind, body, and soul, allowing you to see the light. It's a big and uncertain promise. So in our final moments, will we peer at the edge of life and take a leap of faith, or will we fearfully refuse to jump as the ground beneath us begins to wither and crumble, sending our body down the chasm as we cling to any last chance to save ourselves, resisting and screaming, "No."